Dismondy, and I'm the publisher of Cardinal Rule Press. Yesterday, we did a live video interview with author Barbara DiLorenzo, and I am so sad. The video had some complications, and we only got the last 10 minutes. So I am here to give you a recap of the beginning of the video because Barbara is a very, very cool, interesting author who has a beautiful journey. She's also an illustrator. So I took some notes. I'm going to read to you about the interview. First, Barbara as a child wasn't a big reader. She remembers being in school and seeing a girl have an entire sheet full of stickers, and you would get a sticker every time you read a book. And she remembered feeling like, I want more stickers. It wasn't just natural for her to want to be reading for hours and hours. She remembers that she did want to read more, and that sticker story. Barbara also wants to make a point to everyone listening and viewing that everybody has a different journey. So yes, one little girl was a reader at a young age. Barbara was not a reader at a young age, but Barbara is now a successful author and illustrator. Along her journey, she went to Rhode Island School of Design, and she was in class with Jarrett, and I'm not sure if I'm going to say this correctly, Kruska. And he was in her classes, and she remembers that story writing and storytelling came really easy to him. And she remembered thinking, I wish it would flow for me. Again, it just wasn't her point in her journey. As she got older, she realized that through life experiences, becoming a mother, now her story ideas come to her a lot easier. So that was back in her 20s when she was in school, and now she's in her 40s, and she's really getting a lot more ideas. She's submitting books. She has books published. Her first book, Renato and the Lion, was inspired by her son. They were in an art museum, and he was afraid of a lion statue. And she remembered being, as a storyteller, thinking, this is a great story. She remembers actually taking pictures of that moment, thinking, as a mom, I shouldn't be taking pictures, but as a storyteller, this makes sense. It was a story, and she took a lot of time illustrating it because she wanted to depict that time in that era correctly. So she spent a lot of time on the illustrations. That book is now published. The next story was a little bit more lighthearted. It's called Quincy, the Chameleon Who Couldn't Blend In. And in this story, also inspired by her son, it's a lot more lighthearted. The illustrations came a lot more easily. And when I asked her about her illustration style, she said she doesn't really like to use the word style because really, when an artist is creating illustrations, they're using different mediums. They may use different mediums, but really it's the voice of the book that determines what the art's going to turn out to be like. Both of those books were illustrated in the same year. I should point that out because she had a busy year. Barbara has a son, and she also has a 10-month-old daughter now who is illustrating a new set of stories. Her first, let's see, I asked her about what she's working on right now, and she's actually submitted a book about the life of Leonardo da Vinci. And she was studying him in college, and she remembered thinking, gosh, art came so easily to him. But it actually didn't. And the more and more she researched, she realized that his life wasn't so easy. His parents weren't married to each other, so he couldn't receive proper schooling because of it. He bounced around to different family members that took care of him. And at one point, he went to an all-boys school where he received some art education. And it was there that it really resonated with him because he felt like he was part of a community, and that's where he really blossomed. So that is where the interview picks up. So check out what Barbara has to say. Continue when you left off talking about Da Vinci, and you just kind of felt like he had it all together when you studied him in college, but then as you dug deeper researching, you found that.
Sorry, I missed the first part of that. It didn't come through right away, but I'm guessing what you just said is about the information about Leonardo?
Yes.
So, you know what's funny? Actually, my son gave me a biography of Leonardo to read, and that's where I came up with this information. I thought, oh my gosh, you know, my parents were divorced and then both remarried people and had kids. And I was like, oh, he had a similar situation. Both his parents, they weren't married originally, but they married other people and had children, and they had complete family units, and he was sort of in between. And I thought, wow, lots of kids must feel this way. And here's someone that just did an incredible amount of work in his life, and he left such a mark on art history that I thought, wow, it would be great if other kids knew that he didn't just have this perfect life and just arrive perfect. He also They think he may have had ADD because he had a lot of trouble finishing projects. And he also, people know that he wrote backwards, but even writing backwards, he would flip letter forms. And so they think he might have been dyslexic too.
Isn't that interesting? And so we look at this person and think, oh, they just had it together, but really there's a whole mindset. You know, right now in the schools, growth mindset is a big thing. So we need you to get that book published so that kids can have that story. That's beautiful. So
thank you.
I'm just gonna, because I'm gonna piece the interviews together, but we're talking with Barbara DiLorenzo.
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly? And she's out of New York, and she's talking about her journey as author and illustrator from past day. You'll have to tune in from the beginning all the way till now. Now, Barbara, as an author illustrator, you do school visits. So tell us a little bit about, is this a local thing? Do you travel?
I love to do school visits wherever I am. I've gone up to Massachusetts and did a little tour of schools. I live actually technically now in New Jersey, but I'm in New York a lot too. So I like to travel for them, but basically they're just a lot of fun because you go through the process of making a book and talking to your critique partners and talking to editors and agents and all these people that are giving you feedback. But when you finally are in front of kids again and you're able to share your journey and then share the work, they jump in with both feet and they really go on the ride with you and they ask great questions and they bring magic to the storytelling experience. So I love it. That was so unexpected because I didn't expect that public speaking would be the most fun part of the process, especially for someone who's a little bit of an introvert. But when you're in front of all these kids and they ask great questions and they really want to know more, I just want them to feel encouraged. I want them to know that, you know, if I can get to this point, that they can too, which is something when I was a kid and would see an author come visit, I don't think I got that message. I assumed that they just were born talented. The first author that actually clued me in that there was a struggle, it was actually at an SCBWI event, and it was Avi, who I'm sure you're familiar with. He said he had a very hard time writing, and it was only through reading a lot of books that he overcame his issues with writing. And as he talked about the process, I thought, oh my gosh, if he struggled, then maybe there's hope for me. So I feel like if I could pass that on to other kids, we'll have even better writers and more writers out there that don't give up.
And we will be, once this comes off of Facebook, we will be repurposing these videos on YouTube. And so teachers will have better access there. Not all teachers can get onto Facebook during the day, but we hope that these interviews get to the classrooms too, because I think they're really inspirational. So,
well, I think that's great for kids, especially because, that feeling of frustration when there's a process and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not as good as my neighbor, or, I'll never be able to do this. But knowing that it's part of the journey and you can get there.
I love that. So how can we find out more about you? Tell us your website. I'll definitely put it in the link below as well.
It's my name. So it's BarbaraDiLorenzo.com, and it's D-I, not D-E, Lorenzo. So.
Okay. And where do you spend, how can, schools and everything connect with you? Is that through the website?
Yes, all my contact information is there, and so they are more than welcome to, contact me through email. And there are different times of the year that I'm more or less busy. I work over at the Arts Council of Princeton, and we have sessions of classes that take up like 8 weeks of the fall or 8 weeks of the winter. So I'm freer at different points in time. So, I'm flexible.
That's fantastic. I love how you have your hands in many different areas of art.
Oh, yes.
That's really cool. Thank you so much, Barbara. We made it happen today. And there was a moment where I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen, but thank you for not giving up. That just shows your journey. This is part of who you are. You're like, I'm in a snowstorm, but we can make this happen. And that's who you are. So thank you so much,
thank
Barbara.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.